Hey,
Hello.
what's going on? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Opinion City Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We are your hosts. I'm Ralph Heinmarch. He's
I'm
my tag team
Parmesan,
partner. Yes, my awesome tag team partner in
Prince
this endeavor.
Parma, if you will.
Yes, my co-host with the most. So glad to have you back here again, Sean, for another week
Oh
of
yeah,
professional wrestling talk. And we got big news.
big
Um,
news.
So we announced it this week
Yes.
that here on the podcast we have new endeavor. We have joined
Yes.
with our good friend Anthony
Join
Blackwell Jr.
forces. Shout out to ABJ.
Yeah,
ABJ
of the
podcast.
ABJ podcast,
Mhm.
and the Mancast Network is no more. We are
It's
now
gone.
the Ben Frank Connection.
The Ben Frank connection.
That's
Ralph,
right.
why don't
Yeah.
you explain kind of where the name came from?
All right, so ABJ and I are here in Pennsylvania. Our good friend Sean is there in
The outcast.
New Jersey. Yeah. So what connects Pennsylvania, New Jersey? We got the Ben Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. We are the Ben Frank connection, and we're going to be doing a lot of cool
Yep.
things between our podcasts, everything we do here, everything ABJ does.
Oh, yeah.
We're combining forces. We're going to be doing a lot of really cool
bunch of
stuff,
cool
especially with everything coming up this year, with WrestleMania being in Philly. We're going to do all this
Yep.
great stuff.
We're gonna be there all week.
yeah,
all week.
So we are now the Ben Frank Connection. So please go out and check
Follow
us
all the
on socials.
socials.
Ben
Yes.
Frank Connect. You can find everything that we're doing here, everything that ABJ is doing. We're going to make sure that we get all that stuff up there. So please,
Yes.
go out and support us. Give us a follow. Find us on YouTube. You can get all our videos on YouTube. All of
Check
ABJ's
it
videos
out.
on YouTube. Please support us.
yes.
Tell your friends. Tell everybody.
Tell a stranger.
Yeah. Listen. Go out and walk the Ben Frank Bridge.
Yeah, there you
and find somebody and tell them. So, yeah. So as our first podcast here, as the new
Ben
as
Frank
members
connection.
of the new Ben Frank Connection, we have got an exciting show. Sean,
Yes.
tell them who we got.
We got the Labor of Love owner out of Philadelphia. We got Brave. You can call him Brave Billy Avery, or Billy Avery.
Yeah, there he is.
What's up, man?
How are you?
How's it going?
Chilling.
Chilling.
Thank you so much for having me. I didn't even know about this announcement with ABJ. But
Yes. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it was a big surprise for everybody.
Surprise. Yeah, we did it kind of recently, but we just
Yeah.
came up with
It's been in the
everything.
works for
Yeah,
a little while.
oh, yeah,
but,
it's been
we kind of got
on the
everything
radar.
finalized. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's exciting stuff, and you are our first podcast here.
Yes.
On the new Ben Frank Connection
Mhm.
network. So
Yeah.
it's exciting stuff, man. We're super
Super
excited
excited.
to have you here.
Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, no, I'm honored to be here. I think we had spoken in person, right, at Steel Stacks.
Yep, that's Steel Stacks
Yeah.
SmackDown too. Mm-hmm.
And no, it means a lot to me that you're interested in talking to me, talking about Labor of Love or
Of course.
whatever I've done in wrestling.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Well, I can tell you right off the bat, just knowing of you as an indie wrestler and everything you've done, and just how entertaining you are.
Yeah.
That's number one. But I
Yep.
can tell you that I have never heard a single person have a bad word to say about Labor of Love.
Yeah.
Everybody is
Mhm.
super stoked about it. All the guys that go and work there have nothing but great things to say about
Yeah.
it. So, we definitely wanted to, get into, the whole Labor of Love thing.
Yep.
But why don't we start off by, maybe telling a little bit about your journey into the wrestling world, and kind of, give our listeners what we like to call the dust jacket bio of Billy Avery, for those that are unaware.
Those that are not in the know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a journey, honestly. I've been in and out of wrestling for a long time at this point.
Right.
So I'm originally from Massachusetts.
Okay.
And my dream as a young kid was to be a pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I told my parents it was for college, but I
Nice.
college. But my main idea of moving to Philadelphia was to train at the Chicago Wrestle Factory.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
So that was in back in 2011. I was there for I think a little bit over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I did some stuff for them. They had, I guess, Wrestling is Fun at the time. They were
Right.
pushing this YouTube channel, Wrestling Is.
Yeah.
Had a small role in that. And then I just disappeared.
Yeah.
I had decided to move on with wrestling.
Right.
And not to go on a tangent, but I think I was very young at the time. I was like
Right.
18, 19 years old. I don't
Yeah.
think I was ready for all that wrestling entailed. And
Right.
I had an idea about it, but it's a lot for a young person. There's a
Yeah.
lot of ups and downs, and I think I just got kind of disillusioned by it. I still remained a pretty big wrestling fan. I would watch it on TV, follow the
Right.
indies, etc. And then I think in 2016, I was like, I think I was watching. I want to say it was like Daniel Bryan's initial retirement,
Right.
that whole thing. And I
Mhm.
was like, I really still love this. I I'm still passionate about it. I want to be a part of it.
Right.
So I looked into training again. I was back in Massachusetts. I started training again with this guy named Doug Summers. He
Okay.
Mhm.
had a pretty
Yep.
big hand in training the Sea Stars.
Okay.
Um, and then just kind of slowly made my way back in. I did some stuff for CZW Dojo Wars just from
Okay.
previous
Mhm.
connections with people like Drew Gulak. He kind of put in a good word for me. I had a few matches there that I think went very well.
Right.
Um, I've always been friends with Mantis and Chris just because, well, Chris I've actually known for a really long time just from doing
Mhm.
Square of Opposition Records and
Mhm.
his screen printing business. So
Yeah.
once they started, or I heard that they were doing a wrestling thing. Actually, they reached out to me. They wanted me to be a part of it.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think the ball. I've had a number of different worked for a number of different companies, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, I guess that's how I kind of got reemerged into it. I would probably say my highest profile matches have been LVAC. I
Mhm.
was very happy with my run there.
Right.
Um, and I imagine you two were there for a lot of those shows. So,
Well, Steel Stacks was my first LVAC show that Ralph brought me to,
okay.
and
So,
it was
Yeah.
a huge. It was like the best time I ever had.
Yeah.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
they're a
that
lot of
was an
fun.
awesome show. I want to say, so that was towards, we were doing the storyline with me and Hydra. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, I liked your LVAC work where you were like, especially when they were at the Mahoning Drive-In and you were
Yeah.
like, cutting the grass and yeah,
yeah.
it's just great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how familiar you are with my run there, but it was very much like I was just this very nervous, anxious character.
Yeah.
I got my butt kicked a lot. I won a big match. It was a scramble
Nice.
against Boar. I
Bore.
I think Bojack was in the match. I'm trying to think of Marion Fontaine, probably
Hmm.
some other people I'm forgetting about. But that win really pissed off Chris Reject, the Commissioner Chris Reject. So he started throwing a lot of challenges my way. I wrestled
Right.
Hmm.
Rex Lawless in a singles match.
Oh, big
Uh,
dude.
Calix, Jeff Cannonball in a loser leaves town match.
Oh,
Commish wanted to get rid of me.
man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Lost that match, and then snuck my way back in, and then Commish really wanted to finish me off once and
Right.
for all.
Hmm.
So he put me against Hydra, and Hydra eventually would unmask to reveal himself to be my long lost friend Leslie Butterscotch, and
Oh.
yeah, and then we had that big match. I think it was last year, and
Right.
it was me and Leslie versus Kamish, Rex Lawless, and Blackstrom. And
Oh,
Mm. Yeah.
man.
yeah, so just putting the odds.
Putting you through the ringer, man.
Yeah, but we won that match, and
Hmm.
that was kind of I guess, our send off. Neither um, Leslie or myself have been in LVAC since then, but
Right.
no, that was a great run. I'm very proud of a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
one of the shows that I saw you at, and this is one of my favorite LVAC moments. It's at the Phillipsburg Mall
Yeah. We say that a
in the
lot.
old Foot Locker, and I was the guy you were trying to shake hands with during your entrance that you were all scared of.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, that was me. I was
That's-
I was in my big purple one shirt with my bow tie
Nice.
on, and I'm like trying to shake your hand, and the guy's singing about how you're afraid of me, and it was just good stuff. You
Just
know?
was
fun
it.
times.
That was such a fun show.
It was.
I think the card was really good, top to bottom.
It was. Yeah.
I think I wrestled Calix on that show, and
Mm.
that was a really fun match. I love Calix as a person. I think he's
Right.
just a very underrated talent too. I think
Yeah.
semi-retired, but we have the privilege at Labor of Love of dragging him out of every now and then.
Right. Right.
That's cool.
So, how would you describe what your wrestling character is? And do you think being a more comedic style wrestler makes it more fun than always being a serious wrestler?
That's a good question. So my character, um, I I like to explain it to people as like this kid that just graduated from wrestling school, maybe figure himself out. I used to wear just black trunks and boots, no knee pads, just like
Right.
and honestly, that's not super far off from myself. It's kind of like
Right.
it's an exaggerated version of myself, but yeah, no, just very anxious, nervous. I'm very, in case you can't, it's hard to tell over screen. I'm a skinny dude. Kind of look the exact opposite of what I think a wrestler probably
Yeah.
looks
Right.
like.
Right.
But that's essentially my character. I would say, yeah, I'm pretty nervous in the ring, but I show a lot of fire. I have a
Right.
lot of heart. And then in terms of being a comedy character, that's just something I think for the most part I've always gravitated towards comedy wrestlers.
Right.
Even like honestly, my biggest influence over the years has probably been Mikey Whipwreck. And if you ever see
Mm,
Whipwreck match, you could probably see I steal a lot of his mannerisms.
right.
Hmm.
I just love his whole arc too in ECW. So I think he's a good example of someone I kind of modeled my style after.
Right.
Hmm.
If you all recall, like Colin Delaney's WWE run, I would say
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
influential on me too. But I would
Yeah.
guarantee you, if you talk to Colin, he probably took a lot from Mikey Whipwreck as well.
Right.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I love comedy in general too. Like
Mhm.
I watch a lot of comedy on television. I like
Right.
comedians. So,
Mhm.
and I think that's just it's been comfortable to me.
Right.
I don't think if I tried to work a real serious style, people would. I just don't think it would translate as well.
Right.
I know myself well enough where I think I know what works to my benefit and not.
Mhm.
Right.
And that fit very well with the LVAC because
Yeah.
again like they're not a comedy company, but because
But they
the
don't take
wrestling there
themselves too seriously.
yeah
Right.
the wrestling there is good. The wrestling is like is seriously good wrestling. It's just they're all about the fun and they're all
Yep.
about the fans having a good time, and those two kind of things meshed up really well together.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I've always felt honestly like some of the reactions I've got there, it's like the most at home I had ever felt. Like
Right.
very much at
Mhm.
peace, very comfortable in that environment.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie to you, and it's probably I'll probably, if you're watching back on some of my performances there, I thought I was doing really well. I was very happy with the work I was doing, and then honestly, like COVID happened, and I
Right.
lost a lot of my reps. I
Mhm.
was inconsistent,
Yeah.
not wrestling as much, not training as much, and
Sure.
towards the end, maybe it was noticeable, maybe it wasn't. To me, it was. I just
Mhm.
feel like I lost a little bit of steam there, and
Right.
it bums me out. But COVID sucked for everyone. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a rough few years. You know, even in the mainstream wrestling, like having, you know, WWE in the obviously not real fans Thunderdome.
oh yeah,
I
oh
mean,
yeah,
it looked cool, but like even when they had the fans on the screen, obviously they had the pipe in chants, or you know that
Sure.
wasn't them.
Yeah, it was very
You
hard
would
for the
you would
entire
hear a lot of
industry.
static, and then AEW, I think at least presentation wise for me was a little bit better because they had their own wrestlers as the fans, so there was some real noise, not just piped in noise.
right.
Yeah.
You know what I think too?
You
Just
know,
working the indies around that time. I didn't work a ton of shows, but I definitely did some. There was always this anxiety, like, oh,
right?
am I allowed to curse on this? I don't want to swear if I'm not supposed to.
Listen, go
Listen,
right ahead. Yeah.
we're just going
No,
with the
no,
flow,
I-
man. We're just going with the flow.
I won't. No, there was just some anxiety, just like being in the locker room
Right.
with people, and then the crowd, because you don't know where people have been.
Yeah.
It's just it was uneasy. I
Yeah.
felt guilty, honestly, a lot of the time too. Like I
Hmm.
just felt guilty or even selfish doing some of those shows because I didn't want to potentially expose the people around me,
Right.
and it was an unfortunate time. But I mean, I'm an independent wrestler. Like
Yeah.
I can't. People had it much worse than any of us or even myself. So
Yeah.
Definitely a tough time. So you mentioned, you know, that you had kind of always wanted to go to Chikara. So let's talk a little bit about like you growing up. Were you a wrestling fan growing up? Were you into it? Did you follow it a lot? And how much do you still follow now?
yeah. So no, yeah. So I wrestling was always around when I was a kid, but the kids that I found were interested in it were like I don't know. It was not something that really appealed to me. I'm not a
Right.
super like aggressive person. I don't like watching people fight. So I was kind of turned off on it
Yeah.
initially. And then
Sure.
around the age of 12, I was and we'll talk a little bit about boxing later, but I think
Okay.
my parents had gifted me a boxing video game for N64. I
Okay.
don't remember the name for it, but I don't know. I was really into it. Muhammad Ali was in the game. There was like Butterbean. There were like
Yeah.
Right.
some
Right.
interesting characters, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I like this.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm flipping through the channels on TV one night, and this is when I was 12 years old. I want to say in like 2004, and I'm
Right.
scrolling through the channels, and I'm like, there's a steel cage match, and I'm like, what is
Ooh.
this? Like,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yep.
This is on TV right now, and it was JBL and Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, that
Oh.
match. Oh, what a match to get started on.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeez.
I was fixated. I was like, this is crazy.
That was the match where Eddie, you know, got really cut open, right? Like it was bad.
You might be right. They had a few matches, right?
It was like one chair
JBL
shot, and Eddie
Yeah,
did a bad job, and it was just
there
he
was that
it was
one,
bad.
and then I think
Yeah.
there was a bull rope match
Bull
as
rope
well.
match.
Where
Yeah,
the,
that one
think
too.
where the two of them, but they were. I mean, they were violent.
Those
They
had
were,
violent matches, man.
Yeah.
I think the bull rope match, Eddie was gushing in that.
That was
bull rope.
I think that was the bad one.
Yeah, I think that was a
the
bad one.
steel cage match, there might have been some blood, but I don't think it was the level of the bull
Mhm.
rope.
Right.
But anyway, after I'd watched it on TV that night, the following week I was at my cousin's house and he had SmackDown on, and I was like,
Right.
oh my god, those are the same two guys, JBL and Eddie Guerrero,
Yeah.
that I was watching that steel cage match.
Right. Right.
It's so cool. I can like follow along with these characters and
Yep.
what they're going through week by week. So from that point on, it was just like I was all in. From there, I was on the internet a lot, so I'm looking for any wrestling content, and I could
Right.
consume.
Hmm.
Shortly after that, I was very into WWE, but then I would learn about like TNA,
Yeah.
like what is this six-sided ring, and this amazing Red who's doing stuff I've never.
Oh, he was so good.
Oh man,
Yeah.
he was like captivating. I was just
Mhm.
like,
That X division was so amazing
Was
to watch
stacked
back
too.
then.
At least back then,
Seriously.
you had Styles, you had Daniels, you had
right.
you know
Kazarian,
Loki.
Suicide, all these different guys that were just
And
killing it.
those X wrestlers too specifically. Those were the ones that I could identify with because I've always been a smaller dude, and like
Right.
I could maybe I could see myself
Yeah.
in their shoes. So yeah, no, and then from TNA I found out about the Indies, Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Chikara immediately stood out to me because I was always into cartoons and comics and stuff like that. I'm like, also, and then I started to see guys that were even smaller than some of the guys. Specifically, Hydra was one that stood out to me. I was like, oh my God, this guy is funny. He looked that much bigger than me. I could definitely, I could probably fit in there. And that's why I always gravitated towards Chikara. I really liked their storylines. So yeah, from that point on, it was just like full steam ahead.
Right.
I still watch wrestling. I watch WWE. I watch AEW. I try to follow these New Japan, Japanese wrestling, what have you. Yeah, I watch wrestling pretty religiously.
Yeah.
To be honest with, and I think as a promoter too, I think that is important because you want to be able to see the new who's rising up the ranks, who would fit for your promotion. So I feel almost an obligation to keep up with it too.
Before we go too much on a tangent, I just want to get your opinion on it because obviously you said that you watched it wrestling religiously. How did you feel about CM Punk returning to WWE?
I was shocked. I just didn't see it happening. Everything that I had read online, I didn't think that they would bring him back. I mean, I think any company that has him, I don't want to say it's beneficial because it sounds like there's a lot going on backstage, or at least had gone backstage with him. But I mean, he gets people to watch TV. So I think AEW losing him hurts a lot in a lot of different ways, and WWE gaining him is going to help them at least in the short term.
Yeah.
I know I'm invested anytime I hear that he makes an appearance on WWE program. Like, I want to see what he says. I want to see what this program with Rollins ends up looking like.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I it's very interesting to say the least, and I think he has a lot of value. I'm definitely a fan of his. I've always been a big fan of his. No, I mean, I feel bad for AEW because I think that is a big loss for them.
Right.
But
if you look at where he was at the time, I mean, what they were doing with him, the real world champion, he goes over on Samoa Joe at Wembley. Like, there was obviously a plan there. I mean, for him to, for them to end that feud between the two of them with him going over. Yeah. Obviously something big was planned. So, it does kind of hurt them. I think part of the shock, and we had a special episode where we kind of got together with ABJ and Sean's brother Adam came on, and we had a conversation about CM Punk. And for me, I think the big shock was not because the rumors were out there, so it wasn't it was a definitely big surprise as far as that goes. But I think most people were shocked that WWE actually pulled the trigger.
Right,
that's the most shocking part of it.
I think what sort of gave it away was when Triple H even said in an interview, I think weeks before he came back, was that listen, if the fans want it, we'll do it. If gone is the days of where Vince did it for himself. Triple H said, no, if the fans want it enough and and we hear you guys, we'll make it happen. So they heard CM Punk chants and they're like, all right, we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Honestly, I there was a lot about him from even as soon as he left AEW.
Right.
There were rumors that he was going to go back to WWE, and then he didn't immediately reappear. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take all these rumors with a grain of salt.
Exactly. That's most people. Yeah.
When he actually appeared, it was like, oh dang, he's back. It felt surreal.
It was a crazy moment. I think.
Yeah.
And they gave it the NXT treatment where they put the little logo up.
Yep. The logo to throw you off. Thought it was over. There was a lot of fans that actually missed
Yes.
him coming out because they thought it was over, so
Yeah.
they turned it off.
They
So
turned
when
it off.
the Twitter exploded about him coming back, they're like, "What? When did that happen? We missed it!" Like because everyone just turned it off.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Crazy stuff.
right?
So, how was your training in Chikara? What was that like for you?
It was really good, I think. I think so. At the time that I was training there, it was Quack.
Mhm.
Claudio was there, and
Claudio.
Sarah, which I think I think honestly, like the three of them, but honestly, like specifically Sarah, I do not think Sarah gets as much credit as she does.
Right.
Mm.
You look at the women that are coming out of the performance center and be like immediately showing up on TV. A lot of them are like tremendous.
Right.
Mhm.
And that is a lot can be attributed to Sarah. I really think that like I hope someday she's inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. I think she
Yeah.
but honestly, for me specifically, she took the time to work with me a lot, and I just think I think super highly of Sarah. I think
Mhm.
Mhm.
super highly of Claudio, and Mike knows what Mike knows his stuff, and he
Yeah.
is a very creative person too. So I think I got a really good foundation to wrestling in ways that I'm very grateful because there are trainers out there who are not as good and as accomplished as them. I was surrounded by some really good people, two students at the time,
Mhm.
who I am still very good friends with to this day.
Mhm.
So I'm very grateful that experience. The only thing that I think maybe I think I should have started training later in my life, maybe like 21, not 8.
Right.
I just wasn't ready at the time. I
Right.
just emotionally, I didn't know how to deal with the highs and lows of it, and
Yeah.
that's a lot. It's a lot in wrestling, and
Mm.
um, the highs feel awesome, like you feel like you're on top of the world, but the
Mhm.
lows are low. Like
Yeah.
if I don't know how else to explain it. Like
Right.
it makes you feel like you want to quit, and that's what I did. I did. I stepped away for several years because I was like, it definitely it was rough at times,
Right.
to say the least. Yeah.
And you touched on it a little bit earlier, and maybe we can get a little bit more info about it. But you mentioned Brian Danielson. How did he kind of inspire you to get back into the ring?
So I'd follow again. When I was starting get when I first got into wrestling, I said, it was first WWE, then it was Impact, and then I discovered the Indies, and
Right.
it was Brian's name was everywhere. And I just immediately I was like, this dude, he just kind of looks like a normal guy, but his fire, his heart, um, and just even just like following his WWE run, like how he got
Right.
fired and then he came back, and then like they seemingly didn't want to push him to the level that the fans wanted to, but then
Yeah.
he did it. It was just like in following from like 2005 to that point, it
Oh
was
wow.
like yeah, it was a journey, and it felt like I'm sure I'm not the only one who felt like they were along that journey with him.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how else to explain it. I was just yeah, no, he's like one of my absolute favorites for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think his what he's like in real life um, translates translates a lot to the screen too. You can kind of feel
Yeah.
his emotion, wears his heart on his sleeve, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to say it. He's a hard one to describe. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously he's a tremendous wrestler. He's really good on the microphone. Everything
Yeah.
he does is super believable, but there's also like a relatability to Brian that I think even takes him to this whole nother level.
He's human. Like
Right.
that's the best way I think you can say it. A lot of wrestlers seem like superhuman, like superheroes, and then you have Brian, who's just
Yes.
Brian.
Right.
Like
He
simple
could
as
be
that. Like
down.
he's just a human that loves to wrestle and loves to get in the ring, but he's also just a human like everybody else.
Right.
He could be your neighbor cutting the grass.
Exactly.
Like, you could be, standing out back at the fence having a conversation with him.
Right.
Right.
You know.
Extremely relatable, and I think that's the best way to put it. Like I felt for him, and like in this weird way, like I'm like watching him made me realize, especially when he retired and he gave that speech, I was like,
Yeah. Oh, dude,
this
that
is
was
like,
such an emotional speech. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just like it's very special, and it's like I immediately was like, I miss this, I feel this,
Right.
I understand why wrestling meant so much to me as a kid and still does, and I want to be a part of it. I want to maybe I want people to feel for me the way that
Right.
he feels for me, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of a guy like Bryan Danielson, who can be sort of that everyman for the fan, and then
Absolutely.
it's also the beauty of WWE, where they see something like that and then they take it and they dial it up to 11.
Right.
The Yes Movement, that whole underdog story leading up to WrestleMania 30, and the
Such
Rumble,
an amazing arc.
him
Such
getting
an amazing
into
story.
Yeah.
the main event, and beating Triple H to open the show. Like, that Yes Movement resonated with people in a way that I don't think most wrestlers get a chance to resonate with the fans. Fans follow people and they get invested, but that was on a whole nother level. And
It really was.
you could just see the love for him from the fans, and that's an incredible thing to be able to recognize and then manufacture for the wrestling world. That's an incredible thing to be able to do, and it makes a lot of sense why he would be an inspirational character to people. I do think about this sometimes. It must be tough to be his wife, because you know that like his first love is wrestling. Like you kind of have to balance you with the wrestling, because that's always going to be his first love and his first passion. So that's really cool. So let's talk a little bit about Labor of Love.
Let's get into it.
I'm very excited to hear about this. So tell us kind of how you came up with the whole Labor of Love idea, how it all got started.
Yeah, I was trying to piece together, because I figured this question was coming. And so I think when I was younger too, I liked fantasy booking. I liked that kind of thing. So I've always had that kind of mind for wrestling, I think. But honestly, I didn't even know where to begin with it until my good friend Dave, he made me aware that there was this plaza in South Philly called Holden Plaza. It's a big part of the Vietnamese community out there in South Philly. It's like a lot of Vietnamese food. People will grocery shop there, etc. So my friend made me aware that this plaza was in jeopardy of shutting down.
Oh no!
Being bought out by realtors to build condos or whatever the heck they were planning on doing. And he's like, they're looking to raise money for a lawyer. Do you think we could put together a wrestling show to raise money for them?
Oh, cool.
He's like, this would have to be and this was like they need the funds by next week. And I'm like,
oh God,
right, like,
it gives you no time.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, all right, let's do this. I started hitting up a bunch of people. Where can this show happen?
Right.
My friend Dave and I, we've always been into punk music. We've been a part of the Philly punk scene, so we knew that we wanted to get some bands involved as well. Not dissimilar to what LVAC is doing, and I don't think that's like intentional. I think Chris is also from the punk scene, as is myself. So like,
but music and wrestling go hand in hand.
Yeah,
so it's not like you're stealing
course.
somebody's idea.
Yeah, right. So I maybe Chris feels like we stole from him, but no. I love Chris. So yeah, no, we found this batting cage called Everybody Hits.
Okay.
That wanted to host the show. It was a no ring show because again, I had no idea who to contact about
right.
Sure.
So yeah, it was like a bootleg wrestling show.
especially in a week's time. That's just
Yeah, that's
Hitting up
insane.
everyone on my phone. Hey, do you want to wrestle on this no ring thing? I hope
yeah,
it's fun. It's for this cause.
Yeah.
Uh, got I think we 3 matches, 3 bands. It was a massive success. I think we raised
nice,
several $1,000s. Uh,
awesome.
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
for me, that was really validating because we did it in like a week. And
Yeah,
even though how
you
many
had no time to do it, and you managed to pull it
right,
off.
right, like we had no time to promote, and we're like, okay, this was fun. This was like we did a good thing. Unfortunately, the plaza is no more.
oh
But this was
no.
fun, but we kept their spirits alive for like a time,
Yeah.
I think, or helped
it
anyway.
still helped a little
Sure.
I
bit,
think so. The
Yeah.
intention was good.
of
So
course.
anyway, we're like that went really well. We should try another one, and we should donate the money again. So I think I'm trying to think what the next one was for. We've done a number of benefit shows at this point. We've
Right.
donated all the proceeds to Abortion Liberation Fund of Pennsylvania, Red Umbrella Alliance, just a number of organizations. And so the organization was initially called Everybody Hits because that was the name of the batting cage that we initially
Mhm.
ran at.
Okay.
But as you know, I decided I want to call this Labor of Love because it truly is a labor of love. We're donating
Yeah.
all the money. We're not. It's. I'm giving my friends a platform to wrestle and perform in
Mhm.
front of people, and that whatever it became Labor of Love. I'm trying to think. Now I'm going on it. I go on a lot of tangents,
No, you're fine.
No,
but
go right
that's
ahead.
that's kind of how it started. I want to say it was 2019. It was just before the pandemic kind of hit.
Mhm.
But anyway, we so it started as this small idea, and then like once we realized, oh, if we manage to bring all these people out in a week's time of promoting, we can start actually making this a thing. I think by
Right.
our third show, we got I looked into getting a ring, how we could go about that. Um, all this stuff you need to do if you're running a show in PA,
hmm
working with the
Oh, yes.
athletic
Yeah,
commission,
a lot of stuff.
getting a
Mhm.
doctor. I figured all that stuff out.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, and now it's last year we ran a lot. I think it was 5 or 6 shows. That was
nice.
never the intention. This upcoming year will not be as much as that. But we're we I don't maybe this has been revealed. We had a title belt made.
Oh, okay.
In April crowned
Cool.
first champion on April
Yeah.
3rd.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
So, how do you think Labor Love stands out versus other wrestling promotions in the Philadelphia area?
Yeah, I think we stand out a lot, and I think the mission, at least for me, is to I want people who aren't familiar with wrestling to be able to experience wrestling, or
Right.
like I think people have a lot of preconceived notions of wrestling, a lot of the
Mhm.
times negative, but then if they
Oh
actually go to
yeah.
the show and they're a few feet away from the ring, they're like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And a few people that have come to our show, and not even just a few, I think a number at this point who have been to our shows are like, this is awesome. I want more. And
Mm.
That's cool.
I mean, we have bands play. I don't think a lot of indies are having that.
Mhm. Sure.
We bring in a very diverse audience crowd. I think we're really good about being all inclusive.
Mhm.
Again, not like LVAC. I think we have a lot of those same ethics,
Yeah.
Mhm.
punk ethics, being all inclusive, not putting up with a lot of BS. Like stuff like racism, misogyny,
hmm
sexism, and that's something unfortunately, I think you do see a lot in indie wrestling, and that's just,
Yeah.
I want
Mhm.
people, if you're coming to our show, no matter what you look like, who you are, you can feel comfortable in that space. Like it
That's
would
great.
break my heart if like someone went to one of our shows and were like, that guy said something that that made me feel really uncomfortable, and I never want to see this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think right now one of the big things in indie wrestling is just companies being transgender friendly. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't you see a big problem with that at certain places, and so knowing that somewhere like Labor of Love is again all inclusive, being open to every person no matter who they are, what they are, just being accepting of everyone. That's such a big thing and such an important thing to do in the world of indie wrestling right now.
Absolutely.
Even just like the world too, right? There's like so much debate about transgender
Yeah.
athletes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but I think wrestling too, like intergender wrestling can exist in wrestling and
Yeah.
be really believable. And I think if someone maybe felt one particular way about, transgender athletes or intergender sports, what have you, they could see it exist in professional wrestling and perhaps even be more open minded about it. That's ideally, I that is my hope.
Sure.
But I think wrestling has the ability to do things like intergender wrestling matches,
Yeah.
believable and yeah, and just feel people can feel good about watching it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're big Chikara fans here, obviously having
It's how we met.
That's
Oh,
yeah,
no
that's how we
kidding.
met, was
Yeah,
going
it's
to
how we
Chikara
met. Yeah.
shows. But being a regular at Chikara all the time, we talk to people and we talk about like spiritual successors to what Chikara was doing, that spirit of fun, that spirit of inclusion, that spirit of
Family.
everyone is welcome here, be it in the ring, out of the ring, and whenever we talk about companies that are as close to possible to being in that space, Labor of Love is always brought up. So
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
a really cool thing.
That means a lot. Seriously, it really does. I mean, I was around Chikara a lot. There were obviously good things happen there and bad things happen
Mm-hmm.
there, but I think the mission of Chikara was also something that really resonated with me. So
Sure.
yeah, so yeah, I mean that is something that I kept in mind
Mm-hmm.
as I was starting Labor of Love too.
And you felt like a family when you went to Chikara,
Right,
as a fan, you felt
Yeah.
like a part of something.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I feel like companies like LVAC and Labor of Love, you guys are carrying on that tradition, because it's easy to go to a Labor of Love show or an LVAC show and feel like a part of something, feel like a part of it's just a cool place to be a fan, and that's important too.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit, because we've got some questions here, and Sean really, yeah, Sean came up with some good questions. So this one's interesting. How does one get into a street fight with Matt Riddle, and how does one win a street fight against someone like Matt Riddle?
Oh,
I
no.
think that's a great question. I laughed very hard when I read that one, and I'm like, I can't wait to hear about this.
I was not expecting that. Long story short, a promoter had there was a company called Neophyte Pro.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Right.
how familiar you are with them. They were putting on really fun shows, often really long shows, but they were really fun. I really liked everyone that was being brought into those shows. And the promoter had this idea that I'm trying to, without going.
No, dude,
No,
say your
please.
story.
Just throw it
Tell
out.
us your
Get it all
story.
out. Yep.
Well, I believe, and I'm not the promoter, but from what I understand is, the idea initially was conceived. It was supposed to revolve around Jervis Cottonbelly and
Oh, Jervis.
exist within his mind, I think. So, I was supposed to be, I don't even know how to explain it. I was supposed to be like the biggest, baddest heel there, and like
Oh, wow.
That's great.
right? Because again, it was not based in reality. It was like Jervis's mind,
Right.
and like
Right.
I don't even, again, like I Jervis whatever happened with Jervis, he was no longer a part of it, and then
Right.
I guess it continued on, but the promoter was like, I want you to wrestle like the biggest, baddest people. I want to bring in Matt Riddle and have you wrestle him. And I was like,
Ooh.
yeah, that is terrifying, but
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely terrifying.
like that is a crazy opportunity. It's probably the biggest match I'll ever get. Like, yeah, I'll be there and we'll figure something out. The match was crazy. I think if it saw the light of day, people would freak out because
Really?
It's just it's insane. It is it's insane. It was a very hard hitting competitive match. He definitely beat me up pretty bad. But it was a really good match, I think. Yeah, I was booked to win, so I won. I don't know what else. Yeah, no, and that was like actually one of his last matches before he went to WWE.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, it was funny. He's like, actually, before I, as I was saying bye to him, he was like, let's do it again soon. I'm like, dude, I don't think I'm gonna.
No.
Like, you're gonna now that he's, WWE let him go. I guess there is perhaps a chance a rematch could happen. I highly doubt it, but
let's do that again. Never.
Never. Let's never do that again.
Yes.
And now I feel like he's even bigger than he was then.
Sure.
So yeah. I don't know. But there were talks about me actually wrestling Walter. Another match.
Oh man, talk about David versus Goliath. Wow.
I would have probably died, but again, a match where I would have been like, "Let's do it" because it's Walter and
dude. All it would take, I think, is one chop. That's it. One chop, done.
And you know what? If I just had to take that one chop and lay down, I would have done it. Whatever the case may be. But that's how that Matt Riddle match happened.
That's
I'm
awesome.
very it was a really good experience. I mean, it's surreal in hindsight. Like Riddle and I were in the main event of that show, but then before us, Jonathan Gresham and John Silver had a match. So I'm like,
oh wow,
how am I above the?
How am I after these two talented wrestlers?
Yeah,
if you look down the whole card, I think Wheeler Yuta was on the show, and I was this is what is the show? But no, I mean, it was a for sure like a career highlight. And I can't help but laugh anytime someone brings it up.
Yeah.
Speaking of bringing things up, we know about brave Billy Avery, but who's Haunted Francis?
Okay, Haunted Francis. So Haunted Francis is a character created by this artist named John F. Malta.
Okay.
He's done a lot of stuff for AEW. He's a tremendously talented comic artist. So I think John, I had asked him to do a shirt for me. We had kept in touch, and he had put out a comic called Haunted Francis. I read the comic, and I said, John, how would you feel about me playing this character? And he was all on board. He's like, that sounds crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So that is how Haunted Francis happened. I did a few matches as him, but honestly, it was a lot of fun. But I think I am much more comfortable with not wearing a mask and being able to show my facials and things of that nature. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, that was Haunted Francis. I used him as part of the LVAC storyline because, again, remember I said I lost that Loser Leaves Town match to Jeff Cannonball.
Yeah.
So I was like, Chris, I got this Haunted Francis mask. Maybe we could sneak my way in using that character. So I did a few matches. I think it's Haunted Francis for them too.
Who made you the mask?
Green Ant. Ultimo.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He did an amazing job. He worked pretty closely with John to make sure it looked just right. But no, he killed it. He did an awesome job. I mean, you're taking a comic book character, and making it a real life thing, and he did an awesome job.
Did you do a full suit outfit, or was
I did? Yeah, I did. I did. I went to Daryl Apparel made the bodysuit, and they did a fantastic job on that. The whole look was really cool. I was trying to pass off the character and gear to someone else that would maybe do it better justice.
Take over the mantle for me, yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I really tried, but I don't think that happened. I think it's like a cool character if it were done like really well. So there's a lot of backstory there that in the comic, and it could have been. But honestly, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. I've talked to John. The artist. He
Right.
I was like, how would you feel about like doing a one night only like Haunted Francis type show with all characters in this comic?
That would be really cool.
So maybe down the line that's something that could happen. Maybe I'll resume that character for like one.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So, as far as your career, who are some of your favorite opponents that you've been in the ring with?
Yeah. I mean, immediately, Jeff Cannonball comes to mind. I think I've wrestled him the most. I think we have really good chemistry with one another. I think the juxtapusion between myself being a skinny guy and him being
versus a big guy like Jeff Cannonball.
Guy is there is a story there without us even having to touch.
Yeah.
So Jeff immediately comes to mind. Trying to think of others. Dick Justice. Anytime that I was team with him in the ring with him, I had an absolute blast. He's another guy that I think was tremendously underrated. Like I think he's one of the funniest people in the world.
Right.
He was a blast. Trying to think of other people now that I've maybe wrestled like multiple times. Calix, I've always enjoyed working with him. I think Hydra, maybe I wrestled once. He's one of my best friends.
Right.
And I always a pleasure. I wrestled Luigi Primo once, and that was
Luigi.
Yeah.
He was on the cruise last year. He was a riot.
He is a great guy. He's and very talented and very funny.
Oh yeah.
So I'm probably forgetting people, but that is those who immediately spring to mind.
Right. So there's something I've always been curious about, and I feel like in 32 episodes I've never asked one person this question, so you'll be the first. You're the first. Do you ever review and watch your matches back after a show to kind of review yourself?
That's a good question.
And like kind of see like maybe what can I do better next time?
Yeah, definitely. I used to maybe be a little bit better about it, but yeah, absolutely. Honestly, like, if a match happens, I'm a big. My parents don't really like wrestling, but I always want them to watch my matches.
Yeah. I'm gonna make you watch this match.
Yeah, I'm like, I want you to be proud of me, Mom and Dad. So like I'll put it on. Maybe I'll watch with them. No, I think there is a ton. Like if you're not watching your matches back too, I feel like you're missing out on things that you could do better next time for sure. I think that's really important to do. I definitely do it. Not all of them, but there are certain ones where if maybe I'm thinking like that could have gone better. Or what if that went well? What can I do things to make it even better? Kind of thing. So I definitely I watch my matches back more times than not.
All right, so to kind of bring things full circle here in the career of Billy Avery, what have you maybe not done that you'd like to do yet? Is there somebody that you haven't wrestled that you'd like to wrestle, or maybe somewhere that you haven't worked that you'd like to work? What kind of things haven't you done yet that you really think you'd like to do before you call it a day?
What does the future hold for Billy Avery?
Yeah,
man, it depends on the day that you ask me. At this point in time, like on this day, I feel I'm very grateful for everything I've been able to do, and I don't think I need anything else. But now, on another day, I would like to, I would probably tell you I'd love to have one more match in LVAC. I'd love to. Trying to think, I'd love to be in the ring with Dick Justice again. We never had a singles match, so periodically I'll be like, I'll text him. I'm like, hey, you ready to come back soon?
Mhm.
Just because I just I think the world of him, and I just think he could do something really special. I'd love to wrestle Jeff again. You know, someone who's come to mind, and this might be a surprising choice. I'd love to wrestle Ricky Shane Page. I just
Oh,
Oh, wow.
I think we could
okay.
have a really fun match too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I'd love to get in their team or wrestle Marcus Mathers, just because I remember when he was like a teenager, like
Wow.
or like maybe even a child, like 11, 12 years old. I don't even know how old he was.
Wow. Yeah.
But just to say that I did that. He has this. He showed me this picture of him. I think he was just starting, but he was reffing, and I don't even remember he took it. He has to take a picture with me, and I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. He comes to mind. I'd love to. Leslie Butterscotch and myself is supposed to team against Creeps, who are really great folks from Georgia. I'd love that match to happen. Maybe I'd love to wrestle Colin Delaney. I guess there's more stuff than more stuff that more stuff than I thought that I would still like to do.
That's cool.
But nothing crazy. If you had asked me years ago, I would say Japan. I want to wrestle for like a comedy company in Japan. But that is a pipe dream at this point. But I think that's it.
All right, very cool. Well, with that, Sean, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what time it is?
It's almost 2:00.
No, that's not what I meant.
You asked me what the time was, okay?
Listen.
You asked me what the time was. I gave you the time.
All right, well, I'm going to tell you what time it is. Are you ready?
All right. Yeah.
It is time for our main event.
Ooh. This week, Billy threw us for a curveball here, and he gave us top 5 Rocky villains. Hence why, if you're watching this right now, Ralph's wearing the Drago shirt.
That's right. Yeah.
So let's kick it off with number 5, my friends.
excited.
What do you got?
You open this up on my
Yeah.
Was
Gotta
not
get
prepared.
the notes out for this one. No, it's note-taking time. All right, what do you got?
Number 5.
Me first?
Yeah. No. This is you.
Oh, no. This
is your
is
show,
all you.
buddy.
This
is you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna dissect your 5.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Rocky fan, so I'm ready.
I am too. I will say some of the movies like Rocky 5, it's been a while, but so maybe you can help me fill in the gaps. But
that's the one I like to forget. That's a terrible movie. But
I have something to say about that.
Okay.
Good.
But maybe some of the I feel pretty good about this list, but maybe you can help me dissect the characters a little bit more.
Of course.
Number 5, I have Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang.
Ooh, okay.
All right.
I think Clubber Lang, very, very memorable villain. Did Mr. T didn't come up with "I Pity the Fool" for that movie, right? He had been saying that for a while.
No, I think he had been saying that for a while.
Yeah, I think that was that was his thing.
Right. No, just he a lot of fun. I think he definitely that's oh my gosh, that's Rocky 3, right? I should know that. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he is a lot that helps make that movie memorable. The Thunder Lips thing is obviously fun, but I feel like he would probably get like an honorable mention type thing. He's just not in the movie
right
enough, I think, for that top 5 spot. No, I just he's a fun character. Who doesn't love Mr. T, right? It's Rocky a challenge, and I don't know what else you got about.
Well, so I mean, I would have put him. I think if I was doing my top 5, I would have put him higher on the list because I mean, okay, so you hit it right on the head. He's such a memorable character. I think he is
Absolutely.
probably of all the like if any of the villains you could think of in the Rocky movies, I think he's probably the most outspoken. He is like he's like the Ultimate Warrior circa WrestleMania 6.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
he's just a nut job. Like
Insane.
because he is so mad, he is so violent, he is
Yeah.
so like because it is Mr. T, but it's Mr. T like turned up to
Dialed up.
12 on like 5-hour energies. Like it's crazy. But he's got the scene with Mick, which is horrible. So I feel like I might have put him higher on the list, but he definitely deserves to be on the list because it's everything you'd want out of a Rocky villain.
Now I feel bad for putting him number 5.
No, that's all right.
This is your
It's
list, man.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right.
sure you
It's
got
why we're on
reasons.
Opinion City. It's your opinion and nobody else's.
All right,
You
ready?
won't believe my number 1, so don't worry about it. It's
Okay. Well, my number 4 is going to disappoint you. It is Tommy Gunn.
Downer.
the fact that he was in Rocky 5 to me makes it okay for him to be on this list because I think
Well, wait. I included the Creed movies too. Is that
No,
okay?
that's fine.
That's fine. It works.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
still in the
It's all
Rocky
it's all in the
universe.
universe.
It's all the same.
But yeah, no.
Here's
Go
the
ahead.
thing about Tommy Gunn. I think
Yes.
the character, I think he's very interesting. The movie, I think actually Rocky 5, I think it starts out okay. And then the end, when that street fight happens or whatever the heck, that is when it nose dives.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think the idea of Rocky trying to find a successor and this guy, you kind of see, he's like, oh, this kid's actually kind of cool, and I kind of like him. But then like that heel turn,
Yeah.
it kind of tails off. But I think
Yeah.
the character is interesting, and for whatever reason, I've always liked Tommy Gunn. I have this weird soft spot for Rocky 5. I can't tell you why.
Everyone has a soft spot for a movie that is not so great. I think we all get one in life.
So-
we all get one.
So so when you look at Rocky 5, you have Rocky 5 and then you have Over the Top. And those two movies, people either really like them or really hate them. They are
Right.
very like there's no middle ground on those. I feel like Rocky 5 I feel like the best parts of Rocky 5, at least theory-wise, kind of ended up in Creed.
Yeah.
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 So, it's whatever it is. I think that there were some missteps with Rocky 5. I think everybody kind of, maybe regrets it a little bit, but at the same time, it's still part of the whole story. So if you're
Right.
going to be a completist on the Rocky stuff, you've got to, tough through Rocky 5. It's probably not as bad as I make it out to be, but
It's pretty bad.
yeah, it is.
It is pretty bad.
I would say that Rocky 5 is definitely the worst Rocky movie. Like, I don't
Oh,
think there's
absolutely.
any question, but I think Tommy Gunn as a character is interesting, and maybe that's why I put him in there.
Okay.
He is memorable. He stands out to me. There was I remember, and again, it's been a long time since I watched Rocky 5, but I
Right.
remember for whatever reason, that character resonated with me, and I was like, oh, he's actually kind of cool. This is Rocky's successor. But then that heel turn is kind of I didn't expect it watching
Right.
it, and
Right.
then the arc is interesting, which is why I
Right.
put him in that spot.
So-
There are
so-
probably better candidates, but
So maybe your soft spot for Rocky 5 has to do with the storytelling, and they got you with the heel turn.
Yeah.
That much I get, that I understand. So I'm good with that.
there's some horrible parts of that movie, though, right? Like when Rocky teaches his son how to fight or something. Do you remember that?
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that the movie where everyone quotes that famous line where he talks about how winning is done and all that stuff?
Oh man, maybe.
Isn't that the same movie where he's yelling at his son and this is why I'm doing this and this is how winning is done and
Oh,
Is
Yeah,
that
that's right.
because
there's
I don't know if it's five or if it's 6, But
Yeah,
like,
I think it's
but there
because
was a movie.
he has that moment with
But
him in Rocky
yeah, there's a
Balboa
moment
where
where he
yeah.
you know, he's talking to his son, and his son's talking about how why he
yeah,
should be
you,
fighting,
you
and
gotta
then
pick yourself up, and when
yeah,
life knocks
and
you down, you gotta pick
yep,
yourself
and
up.
that quote
You know.
went like viral after that movie came out.
Okay.
Yeah,
But okay, so I understand. All right, so you get a pass for liking Rocky.
yeah.
Admit,
Let's go to number 3.
I got Drago. Number
There it is.
Drago
There he
at
is.
3.
Number 3. All right.
Okay.
Yes, Drago number 3. No, Drago's awesome. He is the
Terrifying. He
Yeah,
is
like,
terrifying.
probably the terrifying Rocky villain. Certainly, like the worst of them all. Right? Like this is a guy that killed Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
Shows no remorse for him.
Violence. Just straight violence. I'll
but-
break you.
The only reason he's number 3 is because I think there are my 1 and 2. I would put just above
Okay.
Ivan Drago.
Where would he be on your list, Ralph?
Well, listen, for me, okay, just because of the way they did it and the fact that like it was like this whole Cold War thing, and you know, he kills Apollo Creed, like you said, and
Just
I'm telling you, so this movie has 2 of my favorite scenes in any Rocky movies. Number 1 is when Apollo Creed's coming to the ring for their fight, and he's got James Brown singing him out, and they're like dancing and everything, you know. And then Ivan Drago just kind of raises up in this ring, and he's looking around, and he's like, "What the hell is going on?" Like he doesn't say it, but you can read his eyes.
right.
So there's that, and then I love when they go to Russia for the fight, and they're playing the Russian national anthem, and I think it gives it a feel, because it's like they're trying to play off that whole Cold War thing, and you know, they're trying to play the Russians as like these, you know, mysterious people that we don't know enough about. Like we're actually going into Russia now and seeing like things that we normally wouldn't see, and to me, even though I'd put him at number 1, I feel like Ivan Drago was almost an accidental Rocky villain. I don't think that, like, you know, because he's a product of his environment. He's a product of his trainers, and you know, just everybody that surrounded him. They made him what he was, and you know, I don't know if somebody could have gotten in the ring. I don't know if they could have stopped him from killing Apollo Creed, because I don't think he was trying to kill him. I just don't think once he got started he could stop, because he was trained to like just go. So I always felt like he was an accidental villain, because even at the end, like, you know, he kind of, you know, shows Rocky the respect, you know, he deserves at the end, and you know, I always felt like he was an accidental villain. But for me, you know, I feel like he's the quintessential villain. If you look at Rocky and you ask somebody to name something about Rocky, I feel like Ivan Drago's a pretty safe bet. Now, how do you feel about the prospect of like a sequel series based on Ivan Drago and his son and all that talk they're having now? Do you think that could work?
Is that a thing?
I've been hearing about it. I don't know if it's official yet, but there's been rumors about it.
There's deleted scenes, I believe, from I don't know if it's Rocky Balboa or one of the Creed. I think it might be one of the Creed movies early on. There's deleted scenes where Ivan Drago's in there and he has interaction with Rocky, and they never put him in the movie. But there's big talk that could be like the next. Because Sylvester Stallone was upset that they were moving forward without like his involvement in that. Like they just because they own the rights to Ivan Drago, so they're just doing it without him, because he doesn't want to do it. I don't think.
I mean, wasn't there a dispute or a reason why he bowed out of Creed 3, and like that was the reason? Yeah,
there was something where he was not happy with the direction that things.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with the direction, so he kind of was like, "Nah, I'm good."
Yeah,
even though I thought Creed 3 was great.
Oh my God,
I thought Creed 3 was so good.
Amazing.
Yeah, I thought
the Creed movies were really good.
I'm hoping that Majors is one of your number 1 or number 2s, because he was he was a great villain.
Well, all right. So number 2 is Damian Anderson.
There you go.
Who
he was
some legal troubles right now, so we won't talk about him as the person, but
the character. Oh man,
that performance, like
so good.
He
flipped after the initial welcome home was
but you like feel for him.
Oh
too.
yeah,
You feel bad for him, but then you're like, but he's kind of a jerk still.
yeah,
That movie is tremendous. I really like.
yeah. It was really good.
Stands on its own. Like it doesn't matter if you've seen any Rocky movie, if you've seen any of the Creed movies, if you just watch Creed 3, like that movie, it is. Now, if I had to rank the Rocky movies, that movie would be at the top of the list. Not like the top, but
but it would be
close
up
to
there.
close to the top.
close to it, right?
No, that movie is tremendous, and it sucks that because they probably could have like brought that character back too if it wasn't if John
for all the stuff, because
Yeah,
he was a
and-
great character too. He
As
he
an
played
actor-
that so well, yeah.
As an actor, he's incredible, and I think that he's what makes that part. Because if you watch like things that he's done as an actor, like he really gets into his characters. Have you seen Lovecraft Country?
No, but that's a show, right? That's
a show he did on HBO. It was only one season. It got canceled after one season unceremoniously, but it's a very sci-fi sort of Lovecraftian based series. But he's the star of that, and he is phenomenal in that. Like you just watch him pour himself into characters, and I think that's what made this such a good villain. Is he really pours himself into these characters.
So real too, right? Like such a real character. Now, I think there's going to be a Creed 4, right?
Is there?
I believe so. I thought I read that Michael B. Jordan, or maybe they're doing something with. There's like the daughter character, right?
Oh, so having
I'm not sure where it's going, but I'm pretty sure there have been talks about it.
Now, would you rather see a Drago son movie or like a Creed daughter movie?
I feel like at this point, at least the way the Rockies have been going, it's just gonna keep going down like the lineage. They're just they're just following it down. So you could go either way. You could do Drago's lineage, or you can just do Creed's lineage and just keep going down the list.
Yeah, see, I want to see more about Drago. I think that there's interesting stories to tell there. I think as a villain, just looking at maybe like his backstory and how that relates to his relationship with his son. And I always love when they take characters that, because he definitely wasn't a minor character, but he was, like a sort of like a side character to the Rocky character. And when you take characters like that and explore them more and get more in depth, I love to see them like build out this idea of a Rocky universe where you've got all these stories about the Creed lineage and all these stories about the Drago lineage, and like Rocky Balboa when he's got the restaurant and he's got like Spider downstairs washing dishes and stuff. Like I love when they do stuff like that. So good. Like it's a callback to the fans too. Because the fans really they live for that kind of stuff. So
You want my number one?
Yes.
All right, let's hear
number
it.
one.
So this is debatable. People might not even say it's a villain, but Apollo Creed is my number one.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay. So why, you tell us why you think he's number one.
Yes. Break it down.
Ooh. I mean, for one, I think Rocky 1 and 2 are both very good movies and largely attributed to his character. He's just like, he's so over the top, multi-dimensional. He like, so this is controversial too. Are we rating him purely as a villain? I don't know if he would be number one. But as a whole, I do think if we're looking at all the Rocky villains, he would be number one. I just think his arc is very. I think he's one of the best movie characters ever, to be quite honest.
Right.
Sure. I'll agree with that.
He starts as this like pretty horrible guy. He's rich. He's famous. He's like the best. And then he, gravitates towards being an ally of Rocky. Very likable character too. Yeah. While previously being like the guy that you wanted to see Rocky just beat up.
Right.
So that's why he's number one. I mean, I think he is, aside from Rocky, like the most memorable character in any of the movies. Would you agree with that? That's
yeah,
not
I would
bad.
agree with that.
Maybe Drago.
I would agree with that. I think Drago is, more quotable because I mean honestly that "I
Right.
must break you" line is
Yeah,
probably the
It's
greatest
just
line in the whole series.
synonymous.
But
Synonymous.
Apollo Creed is probably the most important to Rocky's story. And when you
Right.
look at like the roots of why he's a villain, he didn't even want to fight Rocky to begin with.
No.
He's like, this guy's a bum. Why
Right.
am I giving this guy a title shot?
Right.
This guy's a nobody. And he was right. I mean, Rocky really was a nobody at the time.
Yeah, at first
But
he
that's-
wasn't. Yeah.
But that's a very important thing to know, that like Apollo Creed thinks nothing of this guy. And
Right.
in one fight alone, he doesn't win the title, but he takes Apollo Creed to the point where Apollo Creed, again, the whole premise of Rocky 2 is that Apollo Creed needs to know.
Yeah.
Like he needs to know if he can beat Rocky.
Yeah.
And I still think, you can be an enemy and you can be a villain and you can still be someone's friend.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, watching the Rocky 40th anniversary edition of Rocky 4, the cut that they did, because the whole story behind that was Sylvester Stallone had nothing to do during COVID, and he's like, I want to recut this movie. And they they change a lot in the movie. They add more things, they cut some things.
Okay.
But one of the things they add was they had shot Apollo Creed's funeral.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
this big, huge thing. His trainer gives a speech, and like they cut that down to like a minute in the actual cut of Rocky
Yeah.
4, where
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
there's no voiceovers, there's just music playing and scenes, but they play the whole thing out in Rocky 4, and
That's crazy.
it really shows how important Apollo Creed is to the whole story, because
Yeah.
I mean, Rocky and Ivan Drago would have been Rocky and Ivan Drago no matter what.
Yeah.
But it was that death of Apollo Creed that made it so much more. It made it so much more important. It drove that film, and it drove Rocky. I mean, because I think if I was ranking them, Rocky 4 would be the top for me no matter what. And I think a lot of that is why, because it's just the importance of the characters and the importance of the story and the build towards that, final showdown, on Christmas Eve in Russia. It just, everything about it screams Rocky. But I think you're right. I think Apollo Creed is extremely memorable, extremely important. So putting him at number one, it is a little divisive. He could be a villain, he might not be a villain, but putting him at number one, I can agree with that, because like for me, like Apollo Creed and Ivan Drago, as far as the Rocky series go, would be like 1A and 1B. They're like interchangeable.
Almost tied, yeah.
They're right there. Now,
Well, that and I think, honestly, without the importance of Apollo Creed's character, we might not have had the Creed movies.
Oh,
they had.
sure.
Yeah.
So,
that's a really good point.
If
he spawned his legacy.
well, like
series.
Well, like what if it wasn't the main character? Like what if that character was a side character and like it wasn't as what it was? Would they decide to maybe do a Creed movie, or decide maybe it's not as much of a
Yeah, imagine if the movie was about Rocky's son instead.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like they went from Rocky to Creed. They like diverted a little bit, same premise but different. Family.
Right.
So that would not have been my number one. My number one is also divisive, and my number one might not be considered a villain.
Okay.
But my number one would be Adrian.
Because
I think she never wanted Rocky to fight. She was like, they were the worst pairing of all time.
They were the worst couple.
They just didn't. Everything about her, like the entire premise of Rocky Balboa is like his life is over because she's gone.
Yep.
Like her departure was the sadness that crushed Rocky to the point where he's running a restaurant. He's like taking pictures. Well, let's take a picture at the table after your dinner. I mean, come on. I know it's not even worth discussing, but that's my number one.
Gotcha.
And I will say there should be an honorable mention for Paulie's robot.
Rocky IV,
which by the way.
Rough.
you can so the 40th anniversary cut you can buy it on Amazon. It never
Okay.
came out on DVD. It was in theaters for one day, but you can like buy it on Amazon digitally. And they actually cut the robot out of the movie.
Oh
Like the robot's
no!
gone. Yep,
No robot.
completely cut the robot out.
No.
So yeah, and just as a side note, R.I.P. to Burt Young.
Yeah.
I met him in Syracuse.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
I
There
was
you go.
I was up in Syracuse, and he was up in Syracuse because he was doing something at the Boxing Hall of Fame, and I met him and got my picture with him. He's like the nicest guy.
Oh wow.
Nice.
Just was because people started to recognize him then, and
Yeah.
everybody was like talking. He was just the nicest guy.
That's awesome.
So
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Well,
Yeah,
that was a fantastic top 5.
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
That was very good.
Definitely, definitely different than what we normally do as far as our top 5s. But we like to get top 5s that are a little different.
Yeah, a
kinda-
little out there.
Do you mind if I ask like what some of the previous ones have been, like mostly wrestling related?
Well, so when we started out, it
Yeah.
was, but then when we started adding guests, we started making it more fun. Like I think my favorite one personally is when we had on Max Sterling, and his was top 5 baked pies.
because the guy loves
Yeah, I
to
love
bake,
baking
so
pies.
he's like,
Yeah.
yeah. They've
one was
pretty
good.
much we've had top 5 workout songs.
Yep.
That was a good one.
We had the body snatchers, and they wanted to top 5 things they couldn't live without,
that was a good
which
one.
is a hard one. That's a hard one.
Yeah, that's
And then,
really hard.
of course, probably our craziest one. So Johnny Pierce was on.
Johnny,
and
yeah.
his
The cold hard truth.
yeah, and he wanted to be really controversial about
yeah.
so he picked top 5 liars in New England wrestling.
Yeah.
And he just called out people.
He just called people out, man.
Promoters,
people out.
wrestlers, his own
You
tag
name
team
it.
partner.
He
He called
just
out his own
went-
tag team partner, yeah.
Yep.
So he just went for it. But it's been really fun. But that one, top 5 Rocky villains was a good one. When you said that, I was like, not only is that perfect for Philly, but that's just
Right.
a great discussion to have.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. All right. So before we get out of here, guys, we are going to talk about some upcoming events.
Every time,
All
man.
right.
Every freaking time.
So pretty much to let everyone in on a little secret, we love the videos that we have, and we pretty much we sometimes we watch them when we're bored because we love the music, and whenever the
It's so
videos are
good.
playing, we're always like dancing in the background. All right, whatever.
Anyway, what do you got
so-
coming up? Any new events for the Labor of Love? What's going on?
All right, so for myself, it's rare that I get a booking these days.
Uh-oh. Here comes.
All right.
I am wrestling at the Wrestleable on
Oh yeah.
December 29th. for,
Nice.
Interspecies Wrestling and Sean Henderson presents. I'll be in the Food Fight International Invitational. I think
Nice.
one.
That sounds
That's-
amazing on all fronts.
Yeah. So check that out. It will be on IWTV, live on IWTV.
Nice.
I think that's the live on the 29th.
Very cool.
And then the next Labor of Love shows are on April 3rd. That is a Wednesday, and Thursday,
Hey.
4th.
Yep.
That is a Thursday, which again, I'm not gonna lie, I'm nervous about these shows. I never would have thought to run it in the middle of a week.
SmackDown in the middle of all things Mania
Listen,
Week. You know what I'm saying?
Mania week is the place to be. So you are gonna
We
have
will be there as well.
people there.
Oh.
Yes.
That's great to hear.
We
Thank you.
will be there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are I'm co-promoting these shows with Sean Henderson,
Nice.
who is
Very
a,
cool.
a good friend, someone I've known for a while. I think we have similar ideas in terms of booking. But yeah, no, we've never run or even thought to run on a weekday before. Yeah, we will be crowning the first Labor of Love citywide champion.
Don't want to miss it.
That is super exciting. Yeah.
So spoiler alert, we will be releasing, I think, relatively soon, a series that we taped on YouTube for
Oh, okay.
the title tournament. But the
Cool.
two finalists, so I guess tune out now or mute it or go ahead, whatever. It will be between Cheeseburger and Weber Hatfield for the title.
Ooh, that'd be a good match.
That's awesome.
Be a good match.
But you'll have to watch to see how they get into that match.
Yes.
So yeah,
Very
those
cool.
are two wrestlers I think the absolute world of.
That's gonna be great.
Great match.
Do you want like an exclusive?
Yeah, why not?
Of course.
go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
City
we
exclusive.
are officially tagging this. This is your Opinion City podcast exclusive. Billy Avery, take it away.
All right. So Thursday, April 4th, someone we've mentioned on this show will be making their Labor of Love debut, and that is Colin Delaney.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah.
Really excited to have him, and we have a number of kind of big announcements coming soon, like talent that I never would have dreamed of bringing.
Super excited.
Yeah, no, both of those shows are going to be really good. So if you can come to both, that's great. If you can only come to one, that's all right. And we got a ticket link at the bottom here.
We do.
Yes.
So we've
Right
got
down there,
Labor,
baby.
We got Labor of Love Philly. You're on Instagram, so everybody can follow you there. And the link for tickets is also on your Instagram, but it's at the bottom there as well.
So if you buy tickets to both shows instead of each individually, you actually get $10 off. So if you can
there it is.
Do that.
It is a value and
Yes.
Listen, based on what Labor of Love has done so far, you will not be disappointed in going to see a Labor of Love
Absolutely
show
not.
WrestleMania week. I'm sure they're going to pull out all the stops. It's going to be amazing. The stuff that they've announced today on our show is super exciting. I will tell you a quick little story about Colin Delaney.
Okay.
I went to so Shikara used to run a show up in Pocono Mountains West at the high school. It was like a fundraiser for them, and so they were doing a show up there, and Colin Delaney was booked on the show, and I get there early because I've never been there before. This is the first time they're running there,
right?
And the parking lot is very confusing. There's like 8 different parking lots and like 20 different doors. And I apparently parked somewhere near Colin Delaney because when I went up to the door to find out where to get in, Colin Delaney was also there and could not figure out where to get in. So I followed Colin Delaney all the way around the building as we checked multiple doors trying to get in. And we finally found the right one. But yes, Colin Delaney and I searched for doors together.
That's great.
But that is exciting news, especially with what you've had to say about Colin Delaney. And
he's been great to work with up to this point. And I want to wrestle him myself someday. Unfortunately, there's another exclusive. It won't happen on that show, but in the future, I would love to.
Very cool.
Right.
All right. So guys, again, ticket links at the bottom there, and you can find it on their Instagram as well. If you're going to be in Philly for Mania, if you're going to be in Philly that week, please get some tickets and go out and see some great wrestling from Labor of Love Philly. We are so excited that you guys are going to be running shows during Mania week because it's going to be insanity all week long. Philly. If you're not in Philly, forget it. If you're not in Philly that week, just forget it.
It's gonna be nuts.
So get your tickets, get to Philly. So Billy, this has been fantastic. We were super excited to get you on the show. Super excited to talk Labor of Love, and it's been great. You're always welcome here. We'd love to have you on again sometime, and just we're gonna keep following Labor of Love and what you're doing, and it's good for everyone. It's good for fans. It's good for wrestlers, and we're excited to see what you guys are gonna bring. So
Indeed.
thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, both of you.
All right, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes. All right, so Sean, another great episode.
Yes.
Again, just want to remind everybody, we are now members of the Ben Frank Connection with the ABJ podcast. So of course you can find us at our socials, and make sure you check out our new social at Ben Frank Connect, where you can find everything we're doing, everything ABJ's doing. So of course, we want to thank our extreme special guest, Billy Avery, who came to chat with us about wrestling and Labor of Love. And of course, we want to thank the fans for listening to the Opinion City podcast with myself, King Ralph, and my tag team partner, Prince Parma. So again, Please follow us on socials. We're everywhere at Opinion City Pod.
Yes.
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues,
People
tell
at the
trolls that live
on the
under a
street.
bridge. Do whatever you need to do. And please, guys, subscribe on YouTube and like, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. I assure you we are there.
We're everywhere. Scattered across the
please.
globe.
Absolutely. All right. So this has been another great episode.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us. This has been a production of who, Sean?
Ben Frank.
That's right. Ben Frank Connections.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, we will see you next time.
This is Ultimo Ann here. You're listening to Opinion City Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.